Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 371 for November 20th, 2024. And this is our post-Grey Cup edition show. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the Toronto Argonauts are your 2024 Grey Cup champions. The AF1 releases its schedule and finalizes their teams for 2025. And there are only 3 FBS teams left that are undefeated. But I'm not here by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son, Adam.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are a day late, but I guarantee we are not a dollar short or a loony short, depending on what country you're in. But we're back. We are recording a day late, kind of recharging our batteries. You told me before we even got recording, you're like, I'm still tired for this trip. And
I am a little tired still. I never adjusted to the time change out there, the 3 hours different Pacific time.
It was weird.
I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking it was 5, which is when I normally get up here. Oh, man, I'm still just not totally over it, but what a great trip.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it here in a bit, but great trip, a lot of fun, met some great people, and can't wait to talk about it. All right, we come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Excuse me. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcast, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the description of both the podcast and many of our YouTube videos, so you can go right to the topics you really want to listen to. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel. Just search for The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @The World of Football in the YouTube search bar. You will find over 475 videos on our YouTube channel now, including Just Lying Around, the Lions-Jaguars preview and recap.
Yep, Kyle again doing the preview on Friday, and then him and I, we weren't able to record till last night, so Tuesday night we recorded, got the video up last night for our recap of that Lions-Jags shellacking. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure.
Our NFL weekly picks for Week 11. Is this Week 11 coming up?
So Week 12's coming up.
12 coming up. Oh, man.
That's what we're going to record tonight after the show.
Yeah, we did Week 11 last week. We're going to do Week 12 this week. And our final episode of Canadian Football League Weekly that we recorded in our hotel room just hours after the Grey Cup game.
On my crappy laptop.
Yeah.
The quality wasn't great, and I didn't get to add as many any highlights.
Right.
We just kind of slapped it together, called it a show because we were exhausted from the Grey Cup. And Randy really wanted to go down the street to get some food, and we'll talk about that too. We'll talk about that again in a couple of minutes.
But we had the stadium out the window behind us. You
yes.
can see the stadium in the window behind us.
Great hotel.
Wonderful location.
Wonderful hotel location. Yep. Everybody at the staff there was great. We'll talk about it. We keep getting ahead of ourselves because this trip was great. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah. So our upcoming videos, we have our Grey Cup travel log that you're going to be putting together over the next week.
Yeah, we'll see over the weekend. I'm going to try to find time.
Yeah. We've got our weekly picks for Week 12 coming up, and Just Lying Around, the Lions-Colts preview, and a recap coming up next week.
Yep, you can find Kyle probably getting that up Friday, and then you'll probably find us talk about the game on Sunday evening, I would assume. Sunday or Monday, depending. It's a 1 o'clock game,
right.
And we got a lot to go cram in because then it's got to turn right around and talk about the Thanksgiving game. So Kyle and I are probably going to do 4 shows in like less than a week. It's going to be crazy.
Wow. Okay, well, let's begin our weekly tour around the world of football, and we're going to start off this week with the CFL Grey Cup game.
Yep, that's right, everybody. The 111th Coupe Grey Cup in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. What a game. What a day. So the Toronto Argonauts defeated the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 41-24. This is the 19th Grey Cup for Toronto, the most of any CFL team. This was obviously the 5th straight Grey Cup for the Blue Bombers. And so, talking to a lot of fans, a lot of the word going around was, everybody expected kind of the Blue Bombers to kind of take it, to establish this dynasty, as they were all calling it, because, they lost the last 2, but if they win 3 out of 5, they feel like they could be a dynasty.
Right.
Well, joke's on them, because Toronto winning 3 in the last 6 kind of makes them a dynasty, if you ask me. Even though I think the team that won it not the last two teams that won it for Toronto, but the team before that. It's like a whole different roster, like just completely different team. So I don't know if you really want to count that or not, but whatever. The whole dynasty argument, just throw that out the window. Look, all I know is these are two good teams.
Right.
And
go
ahead.
And I can understand why Winnipeg was favored.
Oh, I understand completely.
Because Toronto's quarterback, Chad Kelly, got hurt in the semifinal game, and so their backup,
Nick
Arbuckle, came in. Nobody really knew how he was going to do. He did great. He was named the game's MOP, most outstanding
He was
player.
most valuable. I think they said most valuable, but it was also most what's the O stand for? Outstanding. So they kept using both terminology.
Right.
Whatever. And essentially the game's MVP.
Same thing. They call it MOP up there.
But look, I thought he played pretty good. Not great. I wouldn't have given him the MVP, unfortunately. I probably would have given it to one of the defenders maybe that actually like broke that game wide open.
Right. Yeah.
To me, anybody on that defense or that defense as a whole was more valuable. But whatever, we all know what the awards just usually go to the quarterback. We all know that.
Well, he had a really good story.
He did. It was a great story. He had a great when they talked to him after the game.
Yep.
His speech on the stage was awesome.
Yep.
Him with his kids, it was really sweet.
He almost quit football.
Yep, he almost quit football, and here he was, playing in the Grey Cup as the starting quarterback. And the fact that that's what especially made a lot of people not think that this team could handle that.
Right.
When we saw during the season, look, Toronto, they were up and down all year. We talked about it on our CFL show that, they had a few quarterbacks before Chad Kelly came back from his suspension, and it was Arbuckle and it was Cameron Dukes. But Arbuckle obviously
had more experience.
Had a little more experience. He won him a couple games, but the other factor was this Toronto team, both times they played Winnipeg during the season, took care of them.
Right. No matter who was the quarterback.
And that's a one factor that a lot of people just kind of discounted going into the Grey Cup. Is oh no, this Winnipeg team, that's not that they were a different team. But it's now that it's a championship game, they're going to be playing different. And to me, Zach Collaros, for whatever reason, I'm sorry, that's 3 straight championship games he's played in that has been a complete choke job.
He did not look like himself. I mean, when they had that 8-game winning streak, he could do no wrong. And then, get to the Grey Cup, you'd think he's going to have a monster game, and he looked out of sorts.
And what was the stat I read you? It was in his last 3 Grey Cups, he's thrown 6 interceptions.
And no touchdowns.
Yeah. So
that I could not believe.
Unbelievable if that stat's true. I'm pretty sure that's a true stat because he did throw 4 interceptions in this Grey Cup,
right,
which was also uncharacteristic of him. And then you'll throw on top of it, he had the issue where he cut his finger open during the game, which I didn't really know at first, but somebody I heard next to me saying, "Hey, look, there goes Collaros to the locker room," and we looked down, and there he was running off the field, and he came back with a glove on, and his first throw with that glove was a pick, almost for an interception,
almost a pick six.
Almost pick six. He would eventually throw a pick six,
right?
But it was just uncharacteristic of Collaros. Some of his ball placement was just odd, and Kenny Lawler not being more involved surprised me. I guess Toronto's defense really put the clamps on him, but and Brady Oliveira, your most outstanding player of the year in the CFL.
Right.
Kind of being relegated to a non-factor. He had one big run for 35 yards.
For the most part, the defense kept him in check.
And his only touchdown came in, I want to say garbage time, but it came at the end of the game.
Right.
Like, it almost didn't matter. Like, it was a very uncharacteristic. And this is why, if you're Winnipeg, these are the issues you got to fix. If you want to win these Grey Cup, you've lost 3 straight. That's got to be real demoralizing. But to me, going into next season, would Winnipeg still be your favorite?
I'm going to say they're going to be in the playoffs, if nothing else.
Well, yeah.
They might make it back to the Grey Cup as well, but they're still a good team in the regular season. Now, what they do in the postseason, I don't know.
I still think your top 3 teams going into next year's got to be Winnipeg, probably Toronto, and you can't count out Montreal.
Montreal
they were good. And if the Red Blacks could get their crap together, you know what? I would almost throw the Red Blacks. Most of the year, I kept saying the Red Blacks were the second best team, and then they kind of crapped the bed at the end of the year. If they could just figure that out, who knows? But we'll see what happens. The CFL offseason is already underway. We'll talk about something that happened there in a second.
Yep.
But what else? The attendance of this game, 52,349 people, which we were 2 of at
Right.
this stadium. We were like practically on the 55-yard line.
And didn't you look it up? Their stadium holds about 54,000.
I think so.
54,500.
5,000.
Yeah. So it wasn't quite full. It looked pretty full. There were a few sections where I could see a bunch of seats.
A lot of the upper bowl, but I think we did the story where the lower bowl sold out. So, hey, otherwise, look, was it Prince Harry was there?
Prince Harry was there. He was making some. He's part of the. He created the Invictus Games, and they're having like the Special Olympics. With people that maybe don't have an arm or a leg, or that they still compete. And he was doing that. He was there for some charity thing, donating money or receiving money or something for the Invictus Games. Yeah, Prince Harry was there. The Jonas Brothers
obviously were your
did the
halftime show. Which
they were pretty good. They were good.
Randy's a Joe Bro after that. Everybody, just so you know, he was singing the songs. He was dancing. he got up in the aisle and was shaking his groove thing.
Yeah, right.
Hey, nobody else was there to see it. I saw it. Y'all try to disprove me.
Before the game, there was a country artist called, I think his name was Owen Wrigley.
I don't remember, but he had a nice little set.
Yep,
it wasn't terrible.
He had a nice set.
He had a little. I like that he had a little campfire on his stage.
Yeah, a live fire going on.
I don't know if it was a real fire.
It looked like a real fire to me.
Maybe it was. I don't know.
Probably a propane.
It was still
thing,
a cool setup.
But yeah,
it was a cool setup.
I haven't seen that before.
And we had a streaker. That was fun.
Yes. I saw some on YouTube. I think I saw part of that. They blurred it all out.
Right.
But the streaker was not a man like you'd normally think. It was a woman.
A very well endowed woman.
Yes, and she got up there on the field, and I don't know if she fell down on purpose, but she fell down and did a flip or something.
She laid on the turf for a second.
Yeah, but she's got these boots on or shoes, and then she's carrying this big robe that evidently she was wearing.
I think she dropped her cell phone.
Yeah, and but nobody went after her. Now like at an NFL game or even at a college game, you see these security people running 90 miles an hour to go after this streaker person. They just let her do her thing out there, and eventually a couple of guys walked slowly out to where she was because she was already heading for the end zone. They just walked out, and they
had her put her coat back on.
Yeah, please put your coat back on. Then he grabbed her by her arm, and they just kind of all walked out, just happy as could be.
They probably took her down to the Tim Hortons and had some Timbits and a large coffee.
But any other streaker, if it were a guy, man, I don't know how they would have handled it in Canada, but up here they would have been chasing him down and knocking him to the ground, and they didn't knock her down.
Are you saying that these security guards were sexist because they didn't go out and tackle the woman?
I'm just saying they're much nicer to their streakers up there than we are to our streakers down here.
That's also fair. Yep.
We'll just leave it at that.
That's fair. And if you want to see the uncensored video of the streaker, you just go to X. You can find it.
Is it? Because I took a little video, but by then
I wanted to slap the phone out of your hand. I was like, don't take video of that.
You couldn't see nothing from up in the upper
from where
deck.
we were. No, you couldn't. But there are other angles. There's like 8 different angles I saw of this thing. I was showing people work look at this lady. Nobody I was more in shock that nobody did anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she was out there for 30 seconds or something like that.
I get my girlfriend was watching the game at home and she texted me, or when we were talking about the streaker, she texted like, yeah, they cut away from. Obviously, they didn't show it, but
yes, of course.
But they're like, oh yeah, they said something was going up on the field and they can't zoom out for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah,
so well, that would be why.
Yeah, well, let's talk about some of the other things. Our hotel was.
Okay, are we into our actual trip now?
Well, yeah, I thought we already were.
Oh, I thought we were still just talking about the Grey. We were in the Grey Cup zone until we move on to our whole trip.
Okay, well,
let's focus on the Grey Cup, then we'll move out to our trip.
Let's see, what else did I have? I had some other notes written down here.
I was trying to think what else. I saw a burger at the Grey Cup that was essentially 2 donuts.
Yes.
And 2 patties. It was crazy. It was
burger?
A double donut burger, something like that. It was crazy. That was wild. The fans at the we'll talk more about the fans too, about our whole trip, but the fans, all 9 teams represented at the Grey Cup. There, even a couple. You want to add in Baltimore Stallions? Saw quite a few Baltimore Stallions stuff at the game.
Atlantic Schooners.
I didn't see them, but I think I saw pictures that there were people.
They were at some of the functions around town, but I can't.
But I'm sure they were represented at the game too.
Oh yeah.
But some NFL jerseys we saw here and there. I obviously, in our video, I wore my Jared Goff. Did not do the chant. So
thank you for that. I didn't want to get popcorn thrown at us.
It's all good. But no, what else from the game itself before we move on to our trip as a whole?
We sat in front of or behind a guy wearing a New York Giants or
Josh
Bills
Allen jersey.
Josh Allen jersey.
We did have some Winnipeg fans right behind us, so when they saw you wearing your Toronto stuff, they're like, "Uh-oh, here we go."
Yep.
But we had an Edmonton fan sitting next to us who was rooting for, or was it it was Edmonton.
I think they were from Edmonton, but they were rooting for Toronto because they didn't want Winnipeg to win it.
Right. But the fans behind us, they weren't obnoxious, but I mean, there were a lot of them. And then I turned around at one point, they were all gone once Toronto took a big lead.
When it was obvious that they weren't going to win the game, that got real quiet. You look back and
I turned around. I was like, "Oh, Dad, they're gone. They're all gone. Like all 8 of those seats are just gone."
But the thing about the Grey Cup is, in contrast to the Super Bowl, this was not a
affordable.
This was not a corporate event. This is like a fan fest. It's a fan fest in the stadium, and a game happens to break out.
And the Jonas Brothers concert.
And the Jonas Brothers concert. Because all the fans are wearing the same attire that they would wear to their games, whether it's, hair colored blue, faces painted, weird suits or costumes or whatever. They're a fan of their team, and that's what they come as, a fan of their team. And the whole stadium is just a stadium of fans of the league. Yep. Not so much the two teams that are there. A lot of people were there, and their team wasn't in it, but they were there because that's a tradition. They go to the Grey Cup every year.
There are more fans of the other 7 teams there than the 2 teams playing.
Right.
And that's wild to me. You wouldn't probably see that at a Super Bowl. Well, maybe you would because, those are expensive. But I just thought the atmosphere was great. Everybody was there to just celebrate the league and hopefully watch a good game. And they eventually got one. It was a little boring in the first half. Second half when things or mainly the fourth quarter when things blew up. But it was it was a chess match for most of the game.
Yeah, I think I read that the score was still like 17-16.
Yeah, it was a 1-point
late
score
in the third
going
quarter.
Into the fourth quarter.
So that fourth quarter really exploded.
Because the Argos scored 24 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It was wild. It was awesome.
So so it had a great ending. So the score really doesn't tell you how close it was for most of the game.
Yeah, right. You would know, but for three quarters, it was a slugfest.
Neither team could run. Neither team could pass. The defenses were awesome. I mean, they were just stopping everything.
Pretty much.
They were knocking down passes. They were intercepting passes. They were stopping people.
Special teams was kind of I thought for sure we'd see some special teams explosion, but that was kind of kept in check. So it was
even Janneri and Grant had a few good runs, but not
nothing explosive. I would say. I mean, but it was just I don't know. It was just overall just an entertaining chess match for 3 quarters. Then the fireworks busted out in the fourth quarter. But congrats to Toronto. They had their parade and their celebration back in Toronto yesterday. I saw some clips of them on their stage, or if that was today. But kudos to them on winning it. Obviously, we are mainly Argos fans, but obviously we love all the teams.
Sure.
It was a great celebration of the league.
All right, so you want to talk about some of our experiences now on this trip?
Do it.
Let's see. Like I said, our hotel.
Well, do you want to let's start with start at the beginning of the trip, Randy. Let's just start there and work our way through the events that we.
My list is in no particular order.
Oh well, okay. Well, I'm just trying to remember. So we got up pretty early. Flight left Grand Rapids, Michigan at what, like
6:30 in the morning.
6:30 in the morning. We went to Minneapolis. Then we got out to Vancouver. We had the flight wasn't too bad. You watched 2 movies on the flight.
I watched 2 movies, yes.
On the flight there, and I fell asleep in the middle of trying to watch a movie because I just couldn't handle it. I got 2 hours of sleep the night before, so I was it was rough for me going out to Canada.
Yeah.
You handled it a lot better. But you watched, what'd you watch? You watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World because it's a Canadian movie.
And I've seen it before, and I liked it.
And then and you watched Despicable Me 4. Yes. Just for the record. I just wanted that on record. That Randy watched Despicable Me.
I hadn't seen that one yet.
I saw that in theater. It was okay. But we get there. We took a taxi, which was one of the scariest things.
Oh, my God.
That was probably the worst part, was that taxi
I think this
drive.
guy was a former race car driver because oh, man.
It was like out of a movie. I always thought that was just a bad stereotype, but oof, boy, there's a reason stereotypes exist. That was rough. But we made it.
Yeah, we made it.
We were in one piece almost.
We found out we were on the 14th floor, but I didn't know if we'd be able to see the stadium or not. Oh. We get to our room, open up the curtains, and there it is, right at our feet.
BC Place.
It was right there. It was so awesome.
Yeah, so that night we didn't do much that night. It was mainly just chilling.
We went to Boston Pizza that night.
There was a Boston Pizza right across the street, right next to BC Place.
Yep.
We had food there that night, and
the next night too. We went back again.
But so that was essentially night 1. Night 2. We went to the Grey Cup Festival, which was awesome. The city of Vancouver did a great job.
It was at a convention center that was, about 7 blocks away.
Yeah,
7 or 8 blocks
we
away.
took an Uber there.
Yep.
That was about a 7-8 minute drive,
Yep.
if that, maybe 10-minute drive, depending on traffic. But they had 2 convention centers, and then the whole street in front of those convention centers, and that harbor, which was right there. They had
Yep.
the zip line going over some of the water. They had a zip line on the street. They had a bunch of different vendors,
Food
for kids,
trucks,
food trucks, you name it. It was
games.
they had a lot of stuff set up
Yeah.
there, and it was cool because they had a lot of kids out of school doing it.
Oh, yeah. School kids everywhere.
And they had the orange shirts for the that whole initiative they have of protecting the kids. I forget what exactly it was called, but they all had like orange shirts. Obviously, it was British Columbia is also their color. So
right.
But that was cool. We went to the convention center. They had a lot of indigenous people in the market
Artists.
there. The artists
Yep.
doing stuff. So
Yep.
I bought a couple things from there.
Yep.
Then they had the Grey Cup in there on that day. We got a picture. That's where our picture was taken with the Grey Cup. Even though we'd see the Grey Cup quite a few times
Yeah.
at a few places that
Yeah.
weekend, the Grey Cup got around.
It did. It was all over the place.
It was all over. It might as well. It was partying up on its own. So that was sweet. But so we went to that convention center. They had a bunch of cool displays there. We got pictures and videos of, and then we kind of spent just a few hours there, and then kind of saw everything that they had to offer. Went and got lunch, and then I think that's when we rolled back to the hotel and just kind of chilled that evening.
Yep.
Went back to Boston Pizza, watched the Thursday night game,
Yep.
and then went back to the room and finished watching the game. You fell asleep.
Yeah.
Then Friday we did the commissioner's fan address. He had a different press conference for his league. What do they call it? State of the League.
The State of the League. Yep.
But this was for fans,
Yep.
and so that was really neat going to that.
It was free to attend, and they gave us a commemorative coin for the 111th Grey Cup as we walked in.
That was awesome.
In fact, the lady that was handing them out, she saw your Jared Goff jersey.
No, it was my Detroit Lions sweatshirt.
Was it a sweatshirt? Okay.
Yeah.
But she said, "Oh, yeah, go Lions." So we got that in Canada from a lady that was handing out Grey Cup
The
pins.
Detroit Lions,
Yep.
also Canada's team.
And people got up and asked questions, so he took questions from the crowd, and it
Randy
lasted about an
Ambrosi.
hour, and in the end he wanted to take a picture because he's stepping down. Going to be a new commissioner next year probably, whenever they find a new commissioner. But he wanted to do kind of like what Amon-Ra St. Brown did when we were at the draft in Detroit.
Yep.
He took a picture of himself on stage, or actually the commissioner had somebody take a picture of him standing on stage with all of us gathered around the stage. We got out of our seats, went down there, and you can find you and I. I'm going to take that picture and kind of blow it up a little bit and circle the two of us one of these days. And so
I could do that,
but yeah, that was kind of cool. So we got our picture taken with the commissioner, and the Grey Cup's in that picture too with us. God, what else did we do that day?
we got initiated because there's several people there. Obviously, this is like the 30th Grey Cup. We heard a lot of great stories.
Right, people that go every year to the
Yep.
Grey Cup, wherever it is.
We got initiated, even though we didn't get a coin from the
Yeah.
guy who gives coins out to people every year
Yep.
for their first Grey Cup. But whatever, that's fine. I mean, you were really sad that you didn't get a coin, but I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just glad to get this experience. It's fine.
True.
Then see that evening is when, because we didn't do, that was Friday. Trying to think what else we did Friday. I feel like we didn't do a whole lot Friday, or could I
Probably.
be wrong?
Probably not. I don't recall what we did the rest of that night.
Yeah, nothing else in your notes. If it's not in the notes,
No.
then it probably wasn't. I'm gonna kick myself if I forget something. But Saturday we did the CFL fans fight cancer.
Yep.
Um,
It was like an auction. You bought raffle tickets. You put tickets on the prizes that you wanted to have a chance of winning. And there were some other items that you could actually bid. Some expensive things that we kind of stayed away from those, but
Yeah.
a little bit too rich for us. But still, I don't know. I'd love to find out how much money they raised that day. But that's the same charity that those guys that there were a couple of different attempts this year to set a world record by going to all the stadiums. And the one guy in particular was raising money at each game, had a bucket, and people just giving him cash, and he raised a bunch of money for the same charity. So I was glad that we were there, made some donations, bought some raffle tickets, and had a really nice lunch there at the Shark Bar, which was in the same block as our hotel. So we just basically walked down the street a little bit.
I think it's called the Shark Club, but
Shark Club, yeah, could be.
that was a nice setup. The Grey Cup made an appearance there too.
Yeah.
That was wild. But I mean, a lot of fans packed that place up. They did a real good job. We got to meet the Toronto Argonauts PA announcer.
Yep.
So that was really cool. We got to finally meet Tim. First time I met Tim in person.
Yeah, I've met Tim before.
You've met him in person. My first time meeting Tim in person. That was great. Got to sit and chat with him.
Yep.
And
Ryder Fan was there. We
yeah.
we missed her the first day. We saw her on the street, but she was talking to somebody, and then before we knew it, she was gone, and we didn't see her again. But she was at this event.
Yeah, Randy got to meet 2 other Randys.
Yeah, one from was it Edmonton, and
one from I think he was a Hamilton fan. So
yes, I think so.
So that was wild. It was great. It was great meeting Tim, like I said, and he just sat and just talked shop with us for a little bit, talked CFL. Then he kind of went and did his own thing, and then we got to meet Jim, the Bombers fan that was pretty drunk and sat next to me. And I think he was just sitting next to me to take, because there's no real other places to sit down. He was just trying to take a load off.
Yeah.
And whatever. He talked to me for a while. You couldn't hear him over the noise.
It was so noisy in there.
Yep. So he's talking to me, but at one point he asked me if I liked hockey at all, because we were talking about football and all that. And I was like, no, I'm not really a hockey fan. And then he proceeded to talk to me about hockey for about 10 minutes. Then later, that night after the Grey Cup, we saw him and his wife on the news still drunk.
Yeah.
They were talking to the reporter.
At the game.
Talk about the game. So I was like, oh, hey, I met that guy. Glad to see that buzz never wore off. But it was.
I'm sure that was like that all week long.
I'm sure. And more power to him. I kept trying to describe the Grey Cup as it's like that folk music festival I go to every year, except instead of hippies and folk music, it's football fans and they're pretty much like football hippies. It was great.
Everybody was so nice.
Everybody was so nice.
Everybody was nice. Even though you rooted for different teams, nobody cared.
Yeah.
We got our team.
It's all in good fun.
Yeah.
Even if you jabbed a little bit, somebody wearing an Argo Sucks shirt and all that. It was still fun. And then the game obviously was across the street from our hotel. After the game, as I mentioned earlier, you were so hungry because you didn't eat during the game. I had a hot dog, a whole bag of Twizzlers, and a soda at the game. But after the game, you hadn't eaten anything till then.
Anything since
so
breakfast.
We walked down the street to Pizza.
Mm-hmm.
You got to. We went down the street a couple of times. You got McDonald's one night where you tried a couple of Canada-only sandwiches.
Yeah, it was the Big Arch. And they also had poutine.
Yeah.
So McDonald's fries with cheese curds and beef gravy on them.
Yep. And then we had a few slices. We went to Pizza a couple times.
Yeah,
I
love pizza.
They're okay. And then I had a chicken. They had a good chicken sandwich there. I tried that.
Yeah. And then the last night we were at Pizza, I swiped that.
Oh yeah, he stole something from
I did not steal it. I asked the person behind the counter.
This poor kid, he had no authority to even give you permission.
But it was after the Grey Cup game, and they had these little cardboard things that were sitting on the counter. You saw them all over town advertising the Grey Cup. And I said, hey, the game's over now. This, was over a couple hours ago. I said, you mind if I take this? And
this poor kid.
And he's like, oh, I don't know.
I have to go ask my manager. And Randy's like, don't worry, I got it. Randy, let the kid.
He finally said it was okay. Reluctantly, he said it was okay, so I walked away.
He never checked with his supervisor, so you stole that essentially. This poor kid. He's
I
gonna
did
get
not.
fired.
He gave it to me.
Oh, you're gonna feel real bad if you find out that guy got fired.
Oh, please.
What else? Flight back wasn't too bad.
I got recognized at the airport.
Oh yeah, here we go. Here's Randy's.
I got recognized at the airport. I'm just walking around, and I'm you're wearing your sweatshirt that says the World of Football Kalamazoo with our logo, and I had a T-shirt on that said the same thing, and this guy goes, hey, I walk past this guy and he goes, hey, aren't you the guy from the World of Football podcast? And I turn around and I'm like, yeah, and he goes, man, I just subscribed to you guys on YouTube. You guys are great. And I said, oh, thank you. I said, are you from Vancouver? And he's wearing a jacket that's it's got Canada written all over it. And so I said, oh, are you from Vancouver here? And he goes, no, I'm from Iowa.
Nice.
So we got a fan out in Iowa.
Shout out.
I met another guy that was on our flight that had a Baltimore CFL Colts sweatshirt. And I went up and talked to him, and I said, is that an original? And he goes, no, I had this made special some time ago. And he says, but I used to go to all the games, and we got talking about this and that with the Colts. And as we were talking, a guy got up who was sitting behind him, and the guy says, I couldn't help overhearing you, but I used to play for the Baltimore CFL Colts, the Baltimore Stallions. And he said he spent, I think, 16 years playing with the Argonauts. and he spent the last couple of years with that team and knew all about it. And his name was Don something. I can't remember his name.
Should have gave him a business card.
I didn't, but he was on the plane too. Well, both of them were on the plane coming home. So yeah, we got recognized there, or I got recognized there, and I gave out one business card to one of the Uber drivers because he was saying how he was a big BC Lions fan, and so I handed him one of our business cards, and just so many great things about this trip. We had such a good time. Again, like I said, everybody was just so nice, friendly. In fact, you said at one point, "You found your people, haven't you?"
Yeah,
because they're all like me. They're all really nice. They're all polite. They, please and thank you, sorry a lot, and this and that, and I always felt like I was part Canadian, and I actually am now.
Yeah.
Now I found out that my great grandmother immigrated from Nova Scotia, so I guess I am part Canadian, and I've just always loved Canada and loved being there. People are great. So, what a great time we had.
Yes, it was.
So look forward to our travelogue.
Travelogue,
yeah. When that comes out, you'll be able to see what we just talked about,
and maybe some stuff if we missed anything.
Yeah,
I might throw in there. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What are we going to next?
We are staying in Canada.
Oh yes, we're staying in Canada, the Great White North, and we're going to talk some Canadian college football now. The USPORTS semifinal playoff games. In the UTEC Bowl, it was the Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawks defeating the Bishops Gators by the score of 48-24. And in the Mitchell Bowl, the other semifinal bowl game, it was the Laval Red and Gold over the Regina Rams at 17-14. So that sets up on November 23rd, which is this Saturday, the Vanier Cup, their college football national championship game up there. It's going to be the Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawks versus the Laval Red and Gold. The game's going to take place in Kingston, Ontario, home of Queen's University and the Queen's Golden Gales college team. The college and CFL season will be done as of this Saturday.
All right.
There was a time when they got played on the same day or the same weekend in the same city, but now it's like a week apart. And one other story I've got
that should have been brought up in the CFL area.
I put that in the wrong spot. Yeah, the BC Lions head coach Rick Campbell has been relieved of his duties. I'm glad they waited till after the festival was over because BC was expecting to be in it this year, and they almost were, but it just didn't work out for BC this year. They might be right back in it next year. Who knows? But he got fired after the festival. All right, now we're going to head back to the U.S. for some scores from Week 11 in the NFL.
Yeah, the NFL, that other league that's playing.
They still playing?
They are, and the fact that it's taken us a half hour to even talk NFL shows that how diverse our podcast can be because we spent a half hour talking Canadian stuff.
Yep.
So we love it. All right, and it gave the Canadian League their love. I'm going to try to fly through some of these scores, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of them because I know we're already halfway through the show. Right. We got quite a bit to talk about today. All right. Thursday night saw the Philadelphia Eagles defeat the Washington Commanders 26-18. This game felt like the Eagles controlled most of it. But the score's a little closer than I think that game actually kind of was. But I'm still not overly impressed with the Eagles. I don't know if you want anything on this game, but we can move on.
No.
All right, the Green Bay Packers defeated the Chicago Bears 20-19. The Bears looked pretty decent, but they had their last-second field goal blocked by Green Bay.
Yep.
So 2 weeks in a row blocked field goals determining the game. So suck it, Bears fans. The Miami Dolphins defeated the Las Vegas Raiders 34-19. The Los Angeles Rams defeated the New England Patriots 28-22. The New Orleans Saints. Man, they put on a show. They beat the Browns 35-14. Taysom Hill, what a day he had. I don't know if you saw his stat line. He did everything for them that day. He just absolutely balled out. I think, let's see, Taysom Hill, he definitely had 7 rushes for 138 yards. He had 3 touchdowns on the day. He definitely, I think, threw a pass, or he definitely caught a couple too. So he was doing everything for the Saints on that day. The Detroit Lions blew the doors off of the Jacksonville Jaguars 52-6. It is the Jaguars' worst loss in franchise history, which the previous game that the Jaguars had, so this was a 56 or 46 point loss to Detroit. Aaron was in attendance at this game. Congratulations to him for being able to witness this shellacking.
Yep.
But the last game that the Jags had that was considered their worst game ever, back in 1995, they lost to Detroit. In Detroit, 44-0. You were in attendance at that game.
I was there.
So I think it's funny that Aaron and you both got to see two of the Jacksonville Jaguars' worst losses in franchise history.
Yep, and both of those games were on November 17th of their respective years.
That's crazy. So let's see. November 17th, if the Lions play the Jags again, get your tickets because you might witness another shellacking.
Yep.
Hopefully the Jaguars getting shellacked. Anything else from this game? I know we're flying through the NFL stuff, but it was just nice to watch that game at the hotel room.
Oh, yeah.
That was something we didn't really talk about. We got the Lions
We were
game.
afraid we weren't going to be able to get it, but we did find a station that did have that particular game, and so we were all set. We watched that game, and then we walked right across the street to the Grey Cup game.
Yep, it was awesome. We won't go too much on that. Kyle and I obviously talked about that game. Go over there and check our thoughts on that. The Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Baltimore Ravens 18-16, and the Steelers didn't even score a touchdown in this game. It was all field goals for the Steelers. Very impressive win for them. This rivalry is probably the best rivalry in the NFL.
Yeah. Did you want to mention that Beyonce is going to be performing at halftime of the Christmas Day game between the Ravens and the Texans? And I guess that's a Netflix game.
It'll be a Netflix. I was going to talk about Netflix a little later. That was something we didn't mention. We also watched that
the
Jake Paul Tyson fight. That's what we did on Friday night. We didn't talk about, but I wanted to bring that up because of this. Yes, the Beyonce thing being on Netflix, and we also have the two Netflix games on Christmas Day. Apparently, the NFL came out and assured everybody that, or Netflix assured them that they wouldn't have issues. During those games. We'll see about that. I mean, if Amazon can do it, why couldn't Netflix figure it out? Amazon does this every week. Like, I don't get it. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, the Steelers, what a nice win for them. The Vikings beat the Titans 23-13. The Indianapolis Colts beat the Jets 28-27. Anthony Richardson coming back after being benched. They made him the starter again for the rest of the year, and he looked pretty decent and beat the snot out of Aaron Rodgers.
And the Jets also fired their GM, Joe Douglas.
Yeah, they did that the other day. So what is going on with the Jets? Is Aaron Rodgers just getting everybody fired now?
I think you should put a poll on our Twitter page. Who is worse? Who's having a worse year, the Dallas Cowboys or the New York Jets? Who's a bigger dumpster fire?
Oh, that's a good question.
Who is a bigger dumpster fire this year? Is it the Jets or is it the Cowboys?
I mean, if I wasn't running the board right now.
Do it later.
Remind me.
I'll write that down.
Yeah, you write that down. We'll get it up there. How about the Denver Broncos? They beat the Falcons 38-6. Bo Nix had a great game, threw 4 touchdown passes. He looked like the best rookie quarterback out of that whole class. This Denver team at 6-5. I don't know if they'll make it to the playoffs or not. Hard to say, but the fact that they are definitely better than I thought they were going to be this year. Kudos to Sean Payton for getting them kind of turned around, and I'm very curious to see how this Broncos team goes the rest of the year because they are just playing pretty good football, and they probably should have beat the Chiefs last week, let's be honest. So the Broncos, a lot better than we thought. The Seahawks upset the 49ers 20-17. Geno Smith with that incredible touchdown run to end the game, and then obviously taunting the San Francisco fans by acting like, go to bed, everybody, like it's over. So kudos to him, and the 49ers definitely not where we thought they'd be at this point in the season.
The note we have from this game, the Seahawks center, Connor Williams, age 27, has walked away from football for personal reasons.
Yeah, that was a surprising thing that came through the news, right before that game, like midweek. We were in Canada. I was like, dang, this guy just up and retired.
Not really saying, just said personal reasons, and I've heard nothing else since then, so I don't know.
The coach said they respect his decision and all that, so just interesting that at 27, walking away in the middle of the season like that. It's very rare that something like that happens.
Absolutely.
All right, and then your game of the weekend, or the one that everybody had their eyes on at least, was the Bills beating the previously unbeaten Kansas City Chiefs, the 2-time defending champions, 30-21. Josh Allen it up. He looked incredible. He had the great 4th-and-2 run that went for 20 yards to get a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes threw some very ugly interceptions during that game. But, I mean, the Bills won it. But, I mean, when it comes to this rivalry in the regular season, the Bills usually handle business.
Right.
It's, can they do this in the postseason?
Yeah.
And if anything, this is what fuels Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs team come games that truly matter.
Yeah.
So you might have won the battle, Buffalo, but boy, oh boy, you better watch out because the Chiefs aren't thinking about one battle. They're thinking about the entire war. So let's not crown anybody just yet. Even our Lions, we're not going to crown just yet. No. Then your game of the week was probably the Sunday night game as the Chargers, under Jim Harbaugh, completely just a different team. Like the same roster as last year pretty much. Few offensive players different. The defense is mainly the same. But this Chargers team is just playing totally different under Jim Harbaugh. They got the win over the Bengals 34-27. Oh, you raised your hand. I thought you were going to say something.
No.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
All right. But yeah, the Bengals again, they just Joe Burrow putting up the stats, and this Bengals team just can't get any wins. It's unbelievable. They are the best terrible team in the league. Like their record does not reflect how good this team should be.
Yeah.
So I guess your record is what they say you are, and they just can't close out games. Yep. And then on Monday Night Football, we got to watch this on the airplane on the way back.
Yeah.
The Houston Texans took care of the Dallas Cowboys 34-10. The Cowboys have yet to win a game in their home stadium this year. And I would like to read to you, Dad, a list, if I might, of all the teams that have won in Jerry's world that are not the Dallas Cowboys. Because guess what? The Cowboys have not won a home game in 2024.
Okay.
So here are all the teams that have won in Jerry World, or what's it called? AT&T Stadium in 2024. The New Orleans Saints, the Baltimore Ravens, the Detroit Lions, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Houston Texans. Then Texas A&M even won a game there. The United States team won a game there. The Canada team won a game there, and Jake Paul won there.
Now, can we get a list of all the NFL teams that have won all their road games this year?
Oh, all their road games, yes. It's let me see and pull up the list here. There's only one team on that list that has won all their road games.
Really?
Would you like to take a guess?
The Pittsburgh Steelers?
Incorrect, sir. It is the Detroit Lions. The only team to win all. Yeah, you did. Like, it's just what a year.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun watching that Monday night game on the plane from our seats. That was cool.
All right, that should be all of our NFL stuff. It'll probably take more of a forefront next week since there won't be much Canadian stuff to talk about. But now we're going to throw it over to Randy, who's going to be talking about Week 12 in college football.
Yes, the American college football type here. We're going to start out with the top 12 teams according to the college football playoff rankings.
Which we will not be mentioned. Like, they had their rankings on Tuesday. Usually we never cover them on the show because it's Tuesday night they do that, and we record early in the evening.
These are ones from the week
But since
before.
we're recording a day late, we're still not going to cover them just because right now the rankings don't matter.
Yeah. But anyway, number 1, Oregon over Wisconsin, 16-13. Number 2, Ohio State over Northwestern, 31-7. Texas over Arkansas. Number 3, Texas over Arkansas, 20-10. Number 4, Penn State over Purdue, 49-10. Number 5, Indiana was on a bye this week. Kansas upset number 6, BYU, 17-13. That was the first loss for BYU this year. Number 12, Georgia upset number 7, Tennessee, 31-17. You were watching this game, weren't you?
We were watching that game at the hotel, yeah.
Yeah, I might have fallen asleep through that one too.
You did.
Number 8, Notre Dame over Virginia, 35-14. Number 9, Miami of Florida was on a bye. Number 10, Alabama beat up on FCS Mercer, 52-7. Of course, I think Mercer had a pretty good record, even though they're FCS. They had a good record this year so far. Number 11, Ole Miss was on a bye, and that's it for your top 12 teams. Moving on to upsets, shutouts, blowouts, and more. This game was just played last night.
So technically, this is a Week 13
exactly,
game.
Yes, this is technically. But last night, it was Central Michigan beating up on our Western Michigan team, 16-14. I fell asleep during that game,
The first half was boring. Western was down, I think, 13-0 at halftime. And
they were down 13-7 at one point. I think that was the halftime score. But
I thought it was 13-0 because then Western opened up with a pick six. And I guess during this game, in the third quarter, CMU started with the ball, went 4 minutes, threw that pick six, and then got the ball back and had it for the rest of the quarter. So technically, Western's offense never set foot on the field in the third quarter.
Well, see,
they said in real time it was an hour between when Western's offense got back on the field.
Wow.
That is insane. I've never heard that in any level of football. They just a team, their offense never got on the field for an entire quarter.
Yeah.
That is wild to me.
Yeah, and this was the battle for the victory cannon, which that's the rivalry between Central and Western Michigan. Every year they play for this cannon, and they couldn't win it. Western has now lost 2 games in a row. They're still sitting with 5 wins. They need one more win to be bowl eligible. I thought they were going to get it last week. They got beat up by Northern Illinois. This week they barely lost to Central Michigan, their arch rival. So, I don't know. They still got to win one more game to at least be bowl eligible. Yeah. Come on, Western. I know you can do this.
All right, back to the Week 12 scores.
All right. Arizona State upset number 16, Kansas State 24-14. New Mexico upset number 18, Washington State 38-35. Stanford upset number 19, Louisville 38-35. Same score as the last game. Florida upset number 22, LSU 27-16. South Florida over UNC Charlotte 59-24. After this game, UNC Charlotte head coach Biff Poggi was fired, and I had to call Marty up and ask him how do you pronounce P-O-G-G-I? Is it Poggi? He says it's Poggi. So,
Texas State over Southern Mississippi 58-3. Utah State over Hawaii 55-10. Memphis over UAB 53-18. Liberty over Massachusetts 35-34 in overtime. Temple over Florida Atlantic 18-15 in overtime. And Sam Houston over Kennesaw State 23-17 in overtime.
Yeah, for some reason on my iPad I started getting a phone call, so I had to shut that down before I could keep going. Thank you for that.
Yep.
All right, military academies. Number 24, Army, still sitting at 9-0. They were on a bye last week. Army will face Tulane in the AAC championship game on Friday, December 6th. So,
which takes place before the Army-Navy game, which is wild to me.
Yep. So they're going to be playing in a conference championship. They've never played in a conference championship game before, so this is a new thing for Army. So go Army on that one. Number 25, Tulane shut out Navy 35-0. And Air Force shut out Oregon State 28-0. So that just leaves us with 3 undefeated teams at the FBS level. Number 1, Oregon is 10-0. Number 8, Indiana is 10-0. And number 18, Army is 9-0. That's your only undefeated teams left this year.
Can Indiana remain undefeated? They got that big game Saturday against Ohio State. That's going to be must-watch TV.
Yeah. Let's see, a couple of news items that came out of college football. USC has been placed on a 1-year probation and fined $50,000 for violating coaching staff rules. USC exceeded the allowable number of countable coaches during the 2022 season and during the spring practices in 2023. 8 analysts did on and off the field coaching during that period, exceeding the permissible number of 6.
Jeez.
So you're only allowed to have 2 coaches during that time?
I don't know.
This is one of these little picayune kind of things that they're getting people now on. And I don't know. I think it's kind of ridiculous myself.
You know what's not ridiculous? This next story.
Yes. Yeah. Now in the hard-hitting news.
The greatest story of all time.
The Pop-Tarts Bowl
Woo!
will have 3, not 1 like they did last year, but 3 edible mascots this year. And whoever is named the game's MVP from the winning team will decide which one of the 3 mascots is going to be eaten by the winning team. And those 3 mascots are going to be the Frosted Hot Fudge Sundae, the Frosted Wild Berry, and a third mystery flavor.
Oh, please be the s'mores. That's the best Pop-Tart.
I guess last year it was strawberry or frosted strawberry.
Frosted strawberry,
last year.
Got eaten
That's
alive.
one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But yeah, so that made news this week.
I can't wait. The Pop-Tarts Bowl has become the greatest bowl game in the history of bowl games. Just for the fact that your mascot came out of a giant toaster last year.
I didn't think he came out of it. I think he went into it and got heated up and then
ejected from it.
Real Pop-Tarts came out the bottom, and that's what the team
all
ate.
I know is give me more of that. There better be more toasters, more Pop-Tarts, just more everything at this bowl game. Give it to me.
Well, if this is the best or the quirkiest, what was before this one?
What
bowl game
was the best bowl game?
Yeah,
the national championship.
No. But as far as quirkiness, like you got your Idaho Potato Bowl where they dump French fries on people instead of Gatorade.
That's a good question.
Some of the others, that's the first one that comes to my mind.
We've done a few shows where we talked about the crazy bowl game names.
Yeah.
And, man, trying to think which one would really stand out to me. But I don't know. Nothing really does at the moment. I mean, Pop-Tarts Bowl is pretty wild.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the Mayo Bowl or whatever. Like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Didn't they dump mayo on somebody? Like that's
Yes. Yeah. It was like
that's probably it.
after the game in the locker room where they had a bunch of plastic on the floor.
And until the Cactus Bowl, they dump cactus on somebody. That can't be the best bowl game.
All right, let's move on to FCS division.
Start flying
scores.
through these.
Alabama A&M over Grambling 22-17. Western Carolina over Virginia Military Academy 58-28, and in the Ivy League it was Yale over Princeton 42-28. In Division II, it was Franklin Pierce over Assumption 21-19 in 2 overtimes. It was West Alabama shutting out Erskine 63-0. And Delta State over Mississippi College 20-14. Now, an interesting little story came out this week. Mississippi College is changing its name to Mississippi Christian University in 2026, and they're also going to be dropping their football program. So I don't know if they're actually going to play next year or what, but the name changes in 2 years. They finished this past season with a 2-8 record. They played in the Gulf South Conference. And they just moved up from Division III to Division II in 2016, and now with the name change, they're not going to have a football team at all. So I'm sorry to hear that. Let's see. Division III, it was Trine over Kalamazoo College, 37-14. I've never heard of this school before. St. Scholastica over McAllister, 44-41 in overtime. And it was Mary Hardin Baylor over Howard Payne, 63-7. At the NAIA level, it was Olivet Nazarene of Illinois over St. Francis of Indiana, 39-31. Pikeville from New York over St. Andrews of North Carolina, 90-14. And Benedictine of Kansas shut out William Woods, 86-0. Then you added this just a little while ago. The Jamestown Jimmies of North Dakota over the Valley City State Vikings of North Dakota, 28-14, in what was known as the Paint Bucket Trophy game.
Yeah.
You showed me a video, and yeah, it's like a gold paint bucket on a pedestal with a wooden base. These rivals played twice this year. Valley City took it back in October, but Jamestown gets it for the off season as they move to the NCAA Division II next year. So I've never heard of this particular trophy, but you found that. They had a video of the team, dancing and hollering it up in the locker room for winning the paint bucket trophy. So There you go. College football at its best.
Yes, it is.
All right, and finally, at the junior college level, it was Snow College improving to 9-2 on the season with a win over Sussex County, 62-21. It was Butler over Iowa Central, 7-3, and Hutchinson, no, not Aiden, but Hutchinson Community College over Garden City, 42-17. And that's it for our college football scoreboard in America. And now
I have one quick little.
Okay.
Like it's just a slight breaking news.
All right.
Not that you'd even care, but it's how Daniel Jones got benched with the Giants. They announced that. Well, apparently he is going to be quarterback 4 on their depth charts. That's right. They already got Tommy DeVito who's going to start, but they have Drew Lock and one other quarterback that's going to actually be put in front of him. Tim Boyle from the Lions.
Wow, former Lion.
Former Lion. He's being even put behind him on the depth chart. So,
wow. Does that mean he's on the practice squad?
He's getting $40 million this year to be behind a practice squad guy. I don't know.
Hey, it's good money if you can get it.
If he's demoted, but if he gets put on the practice squad, couldn't he be picked up by another team?
Probably. Maybe that's why they're not. Maybe that's why they're making him 4th string. That means
nobody's going to want to pick up that salary.
A lot of teams only carry 2 quarterbacks, and these guys have 4 quarterbacks. So there's 2 other players. A couple of linebackers or linemen that they could have, but they can't because of the money. Yeah, what a mess there. All right, and so now it's time that we check in with our friend Greg at Gridiron Japan.
And now we're off across the Pacific, where our man in Japan, Greg St. James, has all the news from the land of the rising sun.
From the Gridiron Japan newsroom, this is Greg St. James with your Week 6 X1 area scores, this being the final week of X1 area play. We had Club Tri-X was 23-14 over Bulls FC. The Dentsu Caterpillars 23-15 over the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department. The Tenai Deers 27-10 27-0 winners over the Penta Ocean Pirates. And finally, the Blue Thunders and the Bullseyes tied at 13 in their game. Next week, we start this coming weekend, we start off, we have the X1 Super League playoffs start, and we'll have 4 games. And this is the race to the Rice Bowl, and we'll have those scores next week. And with all that said, hey, Randy and Adam, hey, I am very jealous of you guys going to the Grey Cup. And I know you had a good time. A lot of my CFL friends were there too. So it was nice to see everybody's pictures on social media. The only regret I have is that I could not join you. So hopefully next time when the Grey Cup comes around to Vancouver, I will be able to join you guys. So, hey, with all that said, for those who are looking to learn more about the gridiron game here in Japan, go to gridironjapan.jp, and you'll find everything you need, including our social media links, our podcast, and also our YouTube channel. So, hey, with all that said, guys, take care, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
As always, thanks, Greg. We appreciate it. We did miss you up in Canada. We'd love to meet up with you sometime, whether it's back here in the States or at a Grey Cup game or whatever. But
well, to me, it sounds like we're going to have to. Well, if we go all the way to Vancouver for the Canadian League Championship game, Randy, I mean, what's stopping us from going all the way to Japan for a little X-League Championship game action next year? I mean, just saying.
That would be money.
Oh, does that exist?
That would be what's keeping us from going over there. Yes.
Oh, man.
All right,
dear X League, send us a couple tickets and some airfare, and we will be there.
Yeah, right. I know we've said in the past we can be had for a couple of hot dogs and a couple of soda pops at a game, but it's going to take more than that.
I'll take a sushi roll and a flight down.
No thanks. Okay. And now we're back in the United States again for more happenings in the world of football. A lot of news out of AF1 this week. The Arizona Bandits and the Corpus Christi Tritons, formerly of the National Arena League, have been added to the AF1.
Finally, you got your Arizona Bandits announcement finally.
Yeah.
They changed their color scheme up to that ugly green. I hate it.
Yeah.
I get why they had to change.
I saw that they call it lime green, black, and silver or something like that. Or
that's what I call it.
Well, it does make
it's like a Raiders fan threw up is what I call it.
So the AF1 added 2 teams just last week. And then right after that, the Stockton Crusaders and the Monterey Kings the league announced that they are going to postpone their debut in the AF1 until 2026.
Yeah, we had heard rumblings that, because at that point there were 14 teams.
Right.
And we had heard a rumbling, I guess you could call it, that maybe only 12 of the teams would make it. And in my head, when I heard that, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. You never know. But I was like, well, Nashville hasn't made a whole lot of noise. I figured they were out, and I didn't really think about what the other team could be. And I figured maybe it would be Stockton. That was another one I guess we haven't really heard much about. I didn't really think about Monterey.
Yeah, I hadn't heard much from Monterey either.
But, I mean, Jeff Fisher came out during their schedule release and, assured fans that Nashville is still happening. And we'll talk about that schedule, I guess, next. But, yeah, the fact that 2 teams that they announced, I mean, it's not – I mean, it's fine. It's not doesn't have me worried about the league. I know there's going to be a lot of the Doom fans that are saying, "Oh no, here we go again, announcing teams just to have them not play."
Yep, like, all the haters out there.
Look, it's fine.
Yeah,
I will say maybe it's a little bit they got ahead of their skis with some of the announcements. While they've done a good job for the most part of dotting their T's, crossing their I's, vice versa. That. I kind of let them do their thing, but I don't know. Sometimes
it'll
stuff
all
happens.
work out. I have total faith in the people running this league now.
I do have more confidence in what they're doing now than the previous iteration of the Arena League. I mean, this I know is technically a whole new entity.
True.
They're essentially starting from scratch, so I think we also do have to expect some of that. And even with this upcoming schedule, while now you already got fans taking screenshots and making the jokes about let's see it in week 5, let's see how different the schedule is when the season starts. Look, there's going to be some changes. It's November. Their games aren't going to start up till mid-March, which might put a damper on our long break we were almost hoping to have in March, but we'll see. But stuff's going to change. Arena availability, they give you a range. Let's give them some slack. Indoor, you can't expect this to be like the NFL where that schedule is set in stone.
Right.
Like it's indoor. It's never been perfect. So you got to expect a little bit of flexibility there.
Right.
So.
Right. All right, and so adding 2 teams and then getting two teams taken away in the same week, and then right after that, the schedule was announced for 2025. The regular season is going to begin on March 14th, and it's going to end on June 15th, with every team playing 12 games over 14 weeks. Now, as far as I know, they have not said anything about the Arena Bowl or what.
Well, they can't call it the Arena Bowl.
Yeah, I know. They might be able to call it that, but they're working on that.
I bet you they'll call it the Arena Cup.
Well, who knows? But anyway, the championship game and the playoffs, we don't have any specifics on that, other than there will be 6 teams that qualify for the playoffs, because there are 12 teams and there are 3 divisions. So I guess the top 2 teams in each division.
If that, or if it's 6 teams, I would almost say it's your division winners get auto bids, and then maybe the next best 3 get in.
I don't know. We'll find out as the season goes along. But the 3 divisions, you're going to have an East, a West, and a Central. In the East, it's going to be the Nashville Cats, the Albany Firebirds, Orlando Predators, and Wilkes-Barre, whatever. They still have not come out with a name and a logo yet. I thought we would have had it by now, but they're still working on it. So I'm looking forward to
the Wilkes-Barre Arena Football 1 team.
No, they'll come up with something good. Whatever they come up with, I think it'll be pretty good. A lot of the suggestions that I've heard have been kind of good, so we'll see. But that's one of the things we haven't learned yet, is what that team nickname is going to be. Then in the West, it's going to be the Washington Wolfpack, the Arizona Bandits, the Billings Outlaws, and the Oregon Lightning in the West. And then in the Central, it's going to be the Wichita Regulators, Corpus Christi Tritons, Salina Liberty, and the Southwest Kansas Storm.
Yeah.
So that's how things are going to shake out in the AF1 this coming year.
Did you have anything from the schedule you kind of were gleaming, or kind of some things you took note of?
I kind of skimmed it over. I've been so busy trying to get everything else together, and but I did notice that Billings doesn't have a home game until week 6, I think, in their schedule, which is going to be kind of rough for them. But the back end of the schedule, when you really need a win, they're all coming to you. So that might be a good thing. If they can get a good start, on all their road games, they can maybe have a little easier time at home in front of their fans.
So that was one thing I saw, because Steven Titus came out and talked about that with Arena Fan. Shout out to Arena Fan. Shout out to Off the Wall and all the other Rebound Off the Net. All those guys who got to do like simulcasting with the schedule release. Good for them. And then Trey got to interview the commissioner. Mm-hmm. And I know they all got to interview different people. So the Arena League the AF1 doing their due diligence and getting in touch with a lot of these fan YouTubes and Twitter personalities, and just starting to grow the fan part of the game, which I like. I like that they're, giving smaller channels like that an opportunity. And we love Trey. We love his channel. We think he's one of the best out there. Arena Insider, Anthony over there doing their thing.
Absolutely.
So, it's awesome to see that. And, I think Trey's, he's got to be a guy you got to watch out for climbing the ladder in the arena football sphere. Yeah. Trey, I'm not just trying to kiss your butt. I wholeheartedly mean that. But anyway, so looking at the schedule real quick.
Okay.
So the Bandits, or not the Bandits, the Outlaws not having a home game till week 6 is pretty crazy. The fact that they play 3 division games, they play all their division opponents 3 times. Or I think for the most part, because I kept looking, I was like, there's a lot of playing teams 3 times, and not a whole lot of crossover, which I get for travel's sake. Makes it easier. So like Orlando and Albany are going to play each other 3 times. Orlando and Nashville are going to play each other, I think 3 times. Looking at the schedule, I'm like double checking and looking at. Yeah, they play all their division opponents 3 times. So that's 9 games in your division, and 3 other games against other teams. You're building up a rivalry.
You're creating rivalries.
That's a good point. I like that, but at the same time, I'm like, but I would like to see a little more. I would like to be able to, when we get to postseason time, like Albany will probably never play. I don't know if they don't play the Bandits at all. I would have liked to have seen, you have 12 teams in 12 weeks in the season.
Right.
I would have liked to have seen everybody at least play a majority of the league. But instead, you're going to be playing, the 3 other teams in your division and 3 other teams. So you're essentially playing 6 teams out of your 11 other teams in the league. So there's 5 teams that you're not even going to see. I find that weird, but I also understand, and because I know that you just made some good points, but it's just, it bugs me, but I get it for like the travel and stuff. It makes sense, especially for a league starting out. And I know the commissioner made note of that too, that the travel costs with starting a league and having a league like this is one of the biggest issues and hurdles.
Sure.
So I get it, but it just bugs me.
Well, hopefully
And that's something I'll get over.
Hopefully, in the coming years, they'll get some better, TV contracts, and they'll be able to throw some money for travel.
Maybe.
So you'll be able to get a Washington Wolfpack going to Orlando.
Well, obviously they'll do that for the postseason, but I mean,
well, of course, sure.
But I just mean like the 3 games, because like if Albany's playing Nashville, that means they have 2 home and 1 away, or vice versa. Like I don't know. And are they going to flip that next year? Are you going to do it again? Or I don't know. That's just
You're getting way ahead of yourself.
I know. Trust me. All right. Some other things I kind of noted here. No team has a bye in the first week, but 2 teams have byes in that second week of the season. That being Salina and Corpus Christi have byes in week 2. The schedule for like the Regulators, just looking at them, so they play their first 2 games against Southwest Kansas. They're at Southwest Kansas week 1, home against them week 2. Then they have a bye, and at the end of the year, they end their season by. Oh, there was another team that I think I was looking at. They played them twice in a row, like towards the end of the year. Let me see. Oh, so Corpus Christi will play the Southwest Kansas Storm to end the year 2 weeks in a row. So like little things like that.
A lot of it's got to do with availability of arenas, also.
I know
you got to work around that.
And I don't think any other team besides, Salina have 4 straight home games. Week 4 to 7, they have 4 straight home games. That's pretty wild to me. Nobody else, I think, has a home stand as long as that. So that's in the middle of the year. That could be a big thing for Salina. So I don't know. Those are just some of my little takeaways from the schedule.
And we had talked a little bit before we started recording about games we might want to go to. You would like to go to see a game in Nashville, which I did.
I haven't been down there. You did.
Yep.
But I think we're kind of circling maybe going to a game out in Wilkes-Barre. That might be the closest. I mean, we got some options there. They're going to host Nashville. They're going to host Orlando. They're going to host Orlando. They're going to host Albany. They're going to host Nashville and Wichita. So maybe that Wichita game, that's a team we've never seen before.
We like to see teams we haven't seen. We like to see arenas we haven't seen.
Yep.
We've been to Albany. I've been to Nashville. You still have to get there. But Wilkes-Barre, kind of intriguing. I think that might not be a bad one.
I mean, I know it's probably a long shot. I would love to fly out to Montana and see a game at Billings.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
I mean, I would obviously love to go to every arena if I could, but time and money are a factor.
Yes, I would like to go to Billings.
It would be nice.
I may have to make a solo drive out there because your mom's not going to want to go that far in a car.
I thought you were going to say, I'm going to call my best friend, Stephen Titus, that I met at the Arena Bowl.
Well, I might, but just to tell him that I'm coming.
Randy, we can't
come to a game.
We can't tell people we have these kind of connections. I mean, we're going to lose our connection
because we don't have any connections.
This is also true.
All right, let's keep on moving here. We're going to move on to a story out of the UFL. The St. Louis Battlehawks have released quarterback A.J. McCarron. He's been with the team for the past 2 seasons, and he seemed like a perfect fit there, even though
he was kind of their guy.
Yeah,
we kind of rallied around him.
Yeah.
But I mean, in this spring football world, there's going to be a lot of other talent maybe they passed up on just because they were loyal to one guy. I don't know. That's what they're seeing it as, but they want to win.
Yeah.
They have the best fan base. They have the biggest fan base. They sell out that place. Well, not sell out, but they sell a lot of tickets to those. So if they want to, if they have to improve their quarterback, that's what they feel like they got to do.
I think he was a real fan favorite down there.
He was a fan favorite.
Really
I'm shocked that they would even do this.
I am shocked at this, too.
Like, you probably still could have kept him and found another guy if you thought, well, we like AJ, he's good with the fans, but we want a guy who's maybe a step above, which hard to say in the spring league game. I mean, quarterbacks, shoot. You never know, but that was a bit of a surprise. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see if he signs with another UFL team. And I know he's gone to the NFL a few times, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with him. So we'll just have to keep an eye out for that, see if and where he lands someplace. All right, today's birthdays for November 20th. Wide receiver Joey Galloway turns 53 today. He played his college football at Ohio State and was the 8th overall pick in the 1995 NFL Draft by the Seattle Seahawks. He played 16 NFL seasons. He was with Seattle from 95 to 99. He was with the Cowboys from 2000 to 2003. He was with the Tampa Bay Bucks from 2004 to 2008. He was with the Patriots in 2009 and the Washington Redskins in 2010. The other birthday today is defensive end Mark Gastineau. He turned 68 today. He played his college football at Arizona State and was selected in the second round of the 1979 NFL Draft by the New York Jets. He played 10 NFL seasons, all of them with the Jets, from 1979 to 1988. He was famous for doing a sack dance. Whenever he sacked somebody, do this dance. It got real annoying after a while. Let's see. And on this date in 1986, we were just talking about this game last week. The play, Stanford versus California. This is where the band came onto the field because they thought the game was over with, and they were still laddering the ball back and forth, and ran over a trombone player to score a touchdown and whatever. But yeah, this is the anniversary of that game. I don't remember why we brought that up last week, but we were talking about that for some reason.
Oh, the trombone being on display somewhere. I think that was the conversation.
Okay, whatever. But yeah, so that happened on this day also. All right, we got a couple of obituaries today. This is where we take a moment to honor those who've made the world of football a better place. The first one is Jack Charlie Evans, a running back in the NFL for 4 seasons. He has passed away at the age of 76. Evans played college football at Utah and at USC, and he was selected in the 14th round of the 1971 NFL Draft by the New York Giants. He played for the Giants from 1971 to 1973 and finished his playing career with the Washington Redskins in 1974.
All right, our final obituary this week is that of Jerry Faust, a college football head coach for 13 seasons, has passed away at the age of 89. Faust was the head coach at Notre Dame from 1981 to 1985 and led the team to a win in the 1983 Liberty Bowl. He went on to be the head coach at Akron from 1987 to 1994.
All right, and finally, today's upcoming events calendar. Saturday, November 23rd is going to be a big day because that day you have the 140th Harvard-Yale game that's going to be played at Harvard. You also have the 160th Lehigh versus Lafayette game at the FCS level. And then that day, the 23rd, is also the 59th USPORTS Vanier Cup in Canada, Wilfrid Laurier versus Laval. Now, on Tuesday, December 3rd, it's Hard Knocks. In season with the AFC North on HBO and Max, and you just pointed out to me that same day the McRib is back in McDonald's restaurants. So I don't think I'll be watching the show, but I will be getting a McRib.
I mean, you could be watching and have a McRib in each of your hands. So
yeah, I don't know. Watching Hard Knocks makes me nauseous, so I don't think I'll be watching it while I'm eating my McRib. Let's see. Monday, December 9th, the Simpsons Football Fun Day game, the Monday Night Football game between the Bengals and the Cowboys. I'm sure that'll be fun for the Bengals and not so much for the Cowboys. That's going to be on Disney+, ESPN+, and NFL+.
And the fact that this game is unflexible has fans upset. Everybody's like, can we get a different game? The Cowboys stink. We don't want to see them. But they can't flex out of it because of all the animation and stuff.
I'm going to love to hear "do" every time there's an incomplete pass on Dallas' part.
Or turnover.
Yeah.
If it's in Dallas, we're in for a shellacking. This might be the one the Bengals can hang up 100 points.
We'll see. That'll be interesting. All right, let's see. Saturday, December 14th, the 125th Army-Navy game at Northwest Stadium, home of the NFL's Washington Commanders. And Friday and Saturday, December 20th and 21st, the 12-team college football playoffs begin.
Heck yes.
And that is it. Anything else that you want to say before we end this very long podcast?
Yes, if the Detroit Lions can turn their life around, so can you. I just saw that post on Facebook, and I thought that was funny.
Yeah, the Lions are inspiring everybody across the country right now.
True that. And I think Dan Campbell just won some sort of Nickelodeon award. There's a picture of him with the slime on his head holding a trophy.
Really?
So, yeah.
Did you see the video of him shaking hands with some
the veterans?
Yeah.
Oh, every video of Dan Campbell is absolute gold.
But 4 military veterans. One guy said he was 100 years old, and there were 4 elderly gentlemen. They're all wearing Lions jerseys. They're all in wheelchairs, and he's going down the line, thanking each one of them, saying hi, this and that. The last guy stands up and says, and
Dan was like, "You don't have to get up for me."
Yeah, you don't have to stand up. And he goes, "I wanted to see how tall you are." And so because Dan's hunching down, he stands up, and the guy's like, "Wow."
It was great.
That was awesome.
I mean, even if you're not a Lions fan, you gotta love the Dan Campbell post-game speeches, and then that video. They've had some great stuff. Dan Campbell is just a heck of a human being. So,
all right. If there's nothing else, then we'll call this a show. That's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can follow The World of Football on Facebook, X, and Instagram, where the address for all three of those is TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever Alexa devices you may have. And don't worry, next week we will be back to our regularly scheduled Tuesdays for this show. So there you go. You can find the full audio version of this podcast on our YouTube page. Just enter The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @The World of Football in that YouTube search bar. So please spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation.
And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us guys sitting here in Kalamazoo talking football. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job. Yeah, right. I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm so glad to be back in the States.
It was a long trip.
It was a great trip, but
it was
I mean,
a fantastic trip.
It's good to be home.
But it's always good to be home. We'll see you all next week.